What's up, babes? It's Alex or Black Eye here. This video is not going to be at all like my previous videos. It'll probably be poorly edited, switching between my camera and Smite gameplay with a lot of quick cuts, transitions, and sound effects, because that's what the YouTube algorithm in 2024 calls for with the brain rot mentality. I know this because as a consumer, I fall for this every damn time. As of recording this, it is now day 17? I don't have a watch on. Why am I lying to you? But I've gone 17 days without having internet, and that is mainly because Hurricane Helene kind of fucked up my house. The basement flooded, all that fun shit, and Spectrum is a turbo dog shit internet service provider. And that's got me thinking a lot about social media, because ironically, I feel like not having internet has caused me to be on social media more. I can't really play the online games I'm used to, so a lot of the times I just resort to doom scrolling on Twitter or Reddit or whatever. And that just got me thinking, and I really wanted to rant about social media and the Smite community just like as a whole. I just want to point out that the title is a little bit clickbait because I understand some people will interpret that title as the community ruining the game rather than Hi-Rez themselves. I want to make the clarification right off the bat that when Smite inevitably dies, it will be due to a lot of poor decisions made by Hi-Rez. This isn't what that video is about. I could make a video about all the mistakes that I thought could lead to Smite's death, but again, I want to focus on the community aspect of it. But yeah, I'm not defending Hi-Rez, and I'm also trying to not demonize social media as a whole because there are objective upsides to it. I mean, personally, I have made some of the best friends I will ever make throughout my whole life because of social media. I'm more so trying to foster a discussion around the types of people that queue hours upon hours upon hours of Smite every single day and are rude and hateful in every single game they play, and then they go to sleep and are like, oh boy, I can't wait to do that tomorrow. And I kind of want the central theme of this video to be around toxicity and negativity stemming from social media, because I feel like the rise of social media has kind of shifted people's general sentiment around video game communities, and in some cases actively reward players for being toxic and negative. I don't know if I'm noticing this trend because it's like genuinely happening and I've been on social media for a long time now, or if it's because like as I make more content, as I play the game more, I just indirectly become more ingrained in the Smite community, and therefore I notice more of the toxic side of things. But it seems like there's a pattern occurring where people just stopped developing empathy for other humans. And I know that sounds a little insane, but like go on Twitter and just read the comments of like literally any tweet. It can be any topic, and if the account is big enough, there will be at least one comment that's just negative for literally no fucking reason, even if the tweet is like objectively positive. Like just go to any tweet from the official Smite game account and just find a negative I'm getting my phone. Where the fuck is my phone? Okay, yeah, here's a tweet about a bug fix involving Mordred in Smite 2. And yeah, there's a hate comment about a bug fix. If you don't want to lose your MMR, dodge your ranked queue if any of these guys are on your team. And then 14 minutes later, he commented again under the exact same tweet. Why did I have two unranked morons on my team? I thought you guys fixed matchmaking. And this one is particularly kind of funny to me because he does post information about the Smite match he's referring to. And in the top left corner, you can see 2:40 a.m. for when the game took place. Now, I'm going to use this example to pivot into talking about criticism versus toxicity, because those two get conflated a lot. A lot of people try to play the moral high ground and say, oh, this isn't toxic, it's criticism. I'm allowed to be critical of something. And yes, I agree. The issue stems from when you are trying to disguise toxicity as criticism, because then in their mind this gives them just a free pass to say whatever the fuck they want without repercussions. Fuck you, Hi-Rez! Pieces of shit! I hope you die! Why can I not be critical? Come on! Can I not be critical? I thought this was America! Like, that's not criticism. That's just hatred, and you know that, and I know that, and everyone reading it knows that. Like, just own up to it, man. It's more respectable to just say that you are being hateful than it is to try and pretend you're not. This also isn't me advocating to being hateful, but if you are going to do it, then just admit it. So like back to the previous comment about matchmaking, I can totally see people seeing that message and giving that same excuse. You know, this is criticism. Granted, it wasn't necessarily warranted because the tweet was about a bug fix, but ultimately it is criticism. I understand that the criticism was, in this experience, matchmaking was objectively bad, and you guys said that you were working on it, so what's going on? But stuff like that is rarely phrased in a way where it shows that they genuinely want to better the game that they are playing. Like, I didn't interpret that as providing feedback. I interpreted that as someone having a bad experience and bitching about it just because they don't know how to regulate negative emotion. And something I don't think others understand is you can take toxic feedback that you want to give, but just word it in a way that isn't toxic. Matchmaking was objectively bad, and you guys said that you were working on it, so what's going on? Like, if you truly do want your game to get better, then you would want to explain your feedback in a way that's digestible and specific. I'm not a game developer, but if I was, I would probably just ignore all the toxic comments. I don't want to hear from them. Like, yo, you think I'm a piece of shit? Like, okay, fuck your opinion then. I'm not listening to you. And I think that's very valid. I'm not trying to like conclude that this is how Hi-Rez operates, but I think every single person watching this video has gotten upset with somebody and therefore has taken whatever they're saying less seriously. I go into this a little bit later, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I understand it's much, much easier to speak your mind, whether it's hurtful or not, when the person reading it is faceless and behind a corporate account. Like Smite Game, Hi-Rez Studios, or just any company, their main account is faceless. You don't really think about the person reading these messages. You think about the company reading these messages. I also understand that this comment I showed was mild, but I just wanted to prove how fast and easy it is to find these types of comments that are mean-spirited and unproductive. I found that comment in like 20 seconds. I just clicked on a random Smite Game tweet, scrolled through the comments, and found one. I don't think I need to go into detail about why rude comments such as, you know, like literal threats and actual harassment, saying people should lose their jobs over a small change. I don't think I need to go into detail about why that's bad. Now, for this specific person, are they like truly hateful? Like, is that their character? I don't fucking know. I don't know them. And I think a lot of people on social media forget that, you know, if somebody says something you don't like 1, 2, I don't know, however many times, that isn't necessarily fair game for you to judge their entire character. And also, this goes for general statements, not talking about like the most extreme of the extremists. Fuck those people. You actually can judge their entire character if they're being extremely extreme. I should have scripted this video. Humans are just complex creatures with complex emotions, and especially when you are consistently in a competitive environment, it's just human to have these emotional outbursts sometimes. That doesn't necessarily make the way they reacted okay. I mean, that changes based on what the actual reaction is, but it still makes them human and their emotions are valid. Something I've talked about a lot with a therapist is that human beings in general can struggle a lot to regulate negative emotion and can just naturally want to express it in a way that harms others. And yeah, guilty. Doesn't mean they can't or should not express negative emotion, but I do think people should always try to work towards a way where they can do that, but in a healthier way. And after we had this conversation, things just started making a lot more goddamn sense, especially in an online gaming community. Some people just don't have an outlet and have never thought about their negative emotions in that manner. So when they are put in a stressful, competitive, dude, I cannot say this fucking word. So when they are put in a stressful, competitive environment, even if it's just a video game, that can simultaneously become the cause of the negative emotion and the outlet of the negative emotion. And that won't necessarily apply to everyone, but I do think it's a perspective that's worth considering when dealing with somebody that's toxic. So going back to the toxicity versus criticism thing, I will just flat out say toxicity is always wrong. And when I say toxicity is always wrong, there's usually two main pieces of backlash. Well, sometimes toxicity is earned, and people are just too sensitive nowadays. The first one is much better than the other, but they're still both pretty bad. Like, yes, sometimes toxicity is earned. When people are being a fucking asshole and saying mean things or spreading lies or whatever, the backlash is 100% warranted. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I still think it's wrong because you're just stooping to the same level of the person that you are claiming you're so different and better than. And I want to stress I'm specifically referring to like the tone or the language that this toxic person used that you are responding to. I have absolutely no problem making funny jokes here and there at somebody else's expense if they're being a dickhead. Whether that's wrong or not, probably is. It's better than, being equally as toxic, though. And don't give me that bullshit. Oh, they deserved the toxicity because they played poorly in my game. They went 1-11. They went 3-13. Shut the fuck up. No, they don't, and you know that, and you're just trying to excuse yourself being an asshole. The only thing that this person that played horribly deserves is the fucking L that they just gave to their team. Like, surely you understand that when talking about morality and ethics, playing poorly in a video game isn't bad. So, like, no, that doesn't deserve the shit talking. And I'm not saying that you are automatically an asshole if you make a rude comment towards someone not playing well. Again, that's just part of being human. You joined a casual or a ranked team. You expect everyone to know what they're doing, and sometimes people just don't. Like, yeah, that's frustrating. I get it. And I'm sure everybody watching this video that has more than, 50 hours in Smite has said something to somebody playing poorly. Because, again, emotional outbursts are valid. It happens. But if you do it consistently, then I think there's a lot more you need to worry and think about than somebody else playing poorly. And for the second point, people are too sensitive. Okay. I don't understand this because being sensitive isn't inherently a bad thing. Like, yeah, that some people are more sensitive than others, but that's just how people are. Now, can some people be too sensitive? Yes, absolutely. Sometimes people just explode with anger or sadness when you give a trivial insult, and that is something that they need to work on. If you're going through life getting that upset at every little thing, you're going to be miserable all the time because that will happen. It just will. And I'm not saying this to try and be controlling or say people should or should not do something, but at the end of the day, if you are consistently getting upset over small things, it is in your benefit to try and not get upset over those small things and learn how to regulate your emotions. And I want to point out one thing. Shut the fuck up with the Smite is full of snowflakes now bullshit I see all the time. It's more than likely that you are just a dickhead. If it smells like shit everywhere you're walking, then there's shit on the bottom of your foot. And also, it's just really ironic that these people are calling others snowflakes. What's more snowflake behavior? Getting bullied and having a valid reaction to getting bullied, or seeing somebody have a valid reaction to getting bullied and get upset at their reaction? You weren't even the one getting shit talked and you're still upset. And don't say, oh, I don't care. If you didn't care, you wouldn't fucking say anything. That's called caring. Oh, yeah, I actually don't really care. I'm just gonna type an entire fucking paragraph about how much I don't care. Do you see how fucking stupid that sounds? Now, that has always existed in online games. It's frustrating when people say, back in the MW2 days, people didn't care. Yes, they did. There just wasn't an easy outlet to express that they cared. Now, in the days where Twitter's been... Actually, I was gonna say popping off. It hasn't. Just because you didn't see them back in the day didn't mean they weren't there. But I think online gaming and social media has just caused others to forget that there are real human beings, unique human beings behind the computer screen. And you can hold the opinion that they don't deserve your respect or they need to earn your respect before you stop being toxic. I think that's just a long way to say you're an asshole. That's just my opinion. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about is how Smite has kind of been people's personality trait. And I get it, that's really fucking rich coming from a guy that does YouTube 3 times a year now and Twitch and as a Twitter account that is specifically dedicated to Smite. But I also don't think I'm the type to usually, big emphasis on usually, let Smite control my mood beyond the actual game client. I am the type of person where something small can ruin my whole day. I mean, last week, Wendy's fucked up my order, and that put me in a depressive episode for like 6 hours. Like, do I go back and tell them, or do I just take the fucking L? My day's ruined. So yeah, it kind of sucks that and I'm assuming you guys as well, chose Smite to be your primary game, because out of the competitive games, MOBAs are like the worst to like main, I suppose. But some of you guys, oh my god, man. I think I've said this, and I'm sure some of you know this, but I was an Olympian for 2 years, and I'm now currently a Smite ambassador. And just speaking from personal experience, I have like literally gotten death threats because I've disagreed with a change that somebody proposed. There's this one dude that went on this like super weird rant about how Hi-Rez hates console players, and then I disagreed with that. And they then threatened to give out my phone number that they went out of their way to find to other people in the community that they knew disliked me. What the fuck, dude? Also, if I'm just like an ambassador or an Olympian dealing with that shit, I can't even imagine the horror stories that actual developers have. I understand getting frustrated even at like balance changes. I understand getting upset when Hi-Rez does something that you don't want them to. But at the same time, social media has just kind of naturally cultivated and rewarded people for being toxic. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but there kind of like always needs to be a bad guy in the community. It's just like so easy to dogpile on somebody that did something wrong or the community perceived as wrong and just get like 50 likes, feel good about yourself, and then walk away. And I think that feel good about yourself part is like really the core of why people act like this. Like, oh, someone did something horrible? Well, I don't agree with that, and I would never do something that horrible. I am better than this person. But the second thing is, like, when you are very toxic towards anybody and you get so many, like, you get 50, 100, 200 likes on that, yeah, it feels good. It seems like in that moment being toxic was the right thing to do because so many people agree with it. And I explicitly believe that that is why drama channels, just this goes outside of Smite, but like why drama channels are so popular, because people just are naturally drawn to outrage. It's easy to get people outraged about something. 2, it's easy to form an acceptable opinion about doing something wrong. Literally just say, oh, that is bad, and boom, you get like 300 likes. And also, social media has allowed the entire world to connect to each other. This also means that toxic people are connected to other toxic people. So they see all these people being hatred on social media, and that kind of like validates their own toxicity, because if other people are doing it and it's getting a lot of likes, then therefore it's okay for me to do it. And one of the policies that I think is completely destroying Twitter right now was the financial incentive for engagement. It doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't matter how good the post is. It just matters if it gets people engaged with it. And what's like the easiest thing to do to farm engagement? Just start outrage. Now that's more of like how I view the world thing and not necessarily a Smite thing. But like sometimes when Smite posts like a patch notes update and there's a very unpopular change they made, you can go through the comments and see comments with like dozens and dozens of likes, just not even providing feedback, just being hateful towards that one change. So I guess I'm going to close the video by stating that I'm not expecting the gaming sphere, I'm not expecting social media to be like fully wholesome with zero toxicity ever, actually. But I do think it's worth trying to move society in a more positive direction, and that starts with every single individual. It's very easy and sometimes, like I just talked about, rewarding to just speak your mind with zero filter, even if that just like causes outrage and is negative. But it's a lot harder to take a step back, remember that like a real person will see that message and modify it accordingly so that it just doesn't piss people off. I guess if I had to summarize everything I just said over the past 19-20 minutes, it's that to hold people accountable, condemn those that do wrong, and also praise those that do right. It is 100% okay to hold people accountable. I just think a lot of people are extremely toxic while doing that, and also their reasonings for holding people accountable is sometimes flawed or skewed. Because a lot of the things they're holding others accountable for isn't worth holding them accountable for. Accountable doesn't sound like a word anymore. But yeah, that's gonna be about it for me. Please do leave a comment, and I know I say this like every video, but please leave a comment about what you thought on both the topic and on this style of video in particular. If you guys like this style of video where I'm just like ranting about something, please let me know, because this video is much easier to make than my other types of videos. But thank you guys for watching. This has been Biakai, and I will see you in the next video.
Pray them niggas go, hey. Oh, we sell the clowns around, it look like circus show, hey. This is not the album either, these are just throwaways. This shit still so cold when it drop, it's gonna be a motherfucking snow day. Hey, boy, it's good and you know.